way people respond to trauma is individualized and it's heterogeneous. So if we think about a column of military service members all standing at attention, they may appear to be very much the same, and they might appear as if this white light here on this illustration. If we look at the crystal as being the trauma, we see that everyone brings their unique strengths and abilities to the trauma, and their response has a myriad of responses, just like this rainbow depicted in the picture. So we can see that the response to trauma is heterogeneous. We see that there are multiple responses that can occur as a result of trauma exposure, and they don't all meet diagnostic criteria for PTSD. There's also depression and other syndromes. Let's take a moment and consider some of the many possible trajectories following emotional responses to trauma exposure. So if you look here, we have several response patterns. Let's start with the chronic pattern here. If we look at this dark blue line at the top, we can see that there's a couple things you should probably notice. One is that those individuals, that's not a straight line. There is some ebb and flow in terms of the symptoms, which is likely due to current stressors and other life situations that may impact that. We also notice that initially, there is a little bit of a response. They do seem to have some recovery, and it seems to be stalled out or hampered in some way. That's the pattern we're going to see often with older veterans, especially Vietnam veterans. A lot of them have this chronic symptom pattern that lasts for many, many years. I also want to draw your attention to something called the delayed response pattern, and that's this red pattern here in the middle. Now, they appear to be doing rather well. They're managing pretty well for some time after the trauma, and then they have an increase in symptoms, which we see most often in military populations, not so much in civilian populations. The other patterns are a recovery response, which is here in the green, a post-traumatic growth response, which is in that lighter blue, and then we have a resilient response, where they have, again, some response. There's a natural recovery process, and they're able to maintain or kind of have a plateau in those symptoms over time. So when you think about this symptom pattern, I think the delayed response is most specific to the military. Do you have any ideas about why the delayed response might be happening in the military populations?